Hey there, my name is Jacob Hampel, and one of the things that I really like about this time of year is being able to sit down to a nice warm bowl of soup. And so the thing that I'm going to be making today is bone broth. There's a few steps. It's fairly simple, fairly straightforward, but there's a couple things that are particular that make it really, really good. One of the reasons my family and I like to be able to make this is that it tastes delicious. Now, I'm going to make a particular kind of bone broth because I'm going to be making a Vietnamese soup called pho. You guys probably heard of it. There will be particular flavors. You don't have to have all these same flavors for a bone broth. I'm just doing particular flavors because I want to make pho. So, as far as what we're going to go over, I'm going to go over the tools that I'm going to be using, my setup. I'm going to go over the ingredients as well, and then go through the execution of actually making this. I've had to kind of summarize some parts because this is a 5-hour process. So I'm right in the middle of the process. But regardless, there's prep, execution, and then some finishing touches. So first off, the tools I'm going to be using. Got to have a sharp knife. That's a safety thing. Make sure you're not cutting yourself. Got a cutting board, tongs. I've got a pan to toast spices in. I've got a big old stock pot. I think it's a 24-quart stock pot. I have a sheet pan that's lined with foil. That right now is in the oven with the bones on it, and it's just finishing up roasting. So that brings me to the ingredients that we're going to be using. I'm using grass-fed, grass-finished beef bones. There's also some bison bones in there, and I'm using anything that has a lot of connective tissue, a lot of cartilage in it, because that's really the best part. So I have some oxtail in there, some knuckle bones, some rib bones, just a collection of stuff. I'm just trying to get rid of bones in my freezer. So there's the bones, then we have the aromatics. For that, I have onions, my onions, then I have my ginger as well. Then I have a whole host of spices. Last one, this is one of the things that's really particular. I think it's all backwards, but fish sauce. There's no salt in this recipe, but that's going to act as my salt. It's like a fermented anchovy. It sounds really disgusting, it smells really gross, but it makes the soup taste really good. So the first step that we need to do is we need to take all of those bones and we need to roast them. Browns them with that Maillard reaction, and it's going to just taste really, really good. And so I roasted them. I did the foil, put the bones, and I roasted them at 475 for about 45 minutes. All right, baby, look out. It's going to be hot. Yep, no touch. Look out. So once you roast them for 45 minutes, they're going to look like this. All right, baby, look out. Probably hear it sizzling. Nice thing about a lot of these bones is there was some meat on them. And it's looking nice and brown. Baby, no touch. Nice and brown and toasty. So I'm just going to transfer all of those to the pot. Nice thing about using oxtail with what I have here is that there's this really great center that has all the cartilage in it. I also have a couple marrow bones in here. You can see that marrow, that'll all cook out, which would be awesome. And the thing is with all of these bones, a lot of people don't want to use these, and so me and my wife, we order a whole beef at a time, and so I always ask the butcher for, my wife told me it's everything but the moo. We want to use as many of the organs, as many of the bones as possible, and so we get it with each of our beef that we get for the year, but you could always just go to a butcher at the store and see if they have extra bones. These big old huge knuckle bones are awesome. A lot of mass there. But a lot of the bones will have meat on there as well, and that'll just cook off, and we will put that in the final soup. So I have some leftover steak bones here as well. I'm just trying to use up all of that good stuff. What I'm going to do is I'll put it all in here, and I'm not going to put hot water on top of this, because one of the things that I want to do is I want to draw protein that's in the bone still. It's called albumin. So instead of pouring hot liquid on there, I'm going to pour cold liquid and I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes. And what that will do is help that to come out. How it works, I don't know. I just know that my bone broth comes out better whenever I let it soak in that cold water. All right. Got the last little bit here. Last little bite of oxtail. All right. So now that I have all my bones in there, I'm gonna move this out of the way. There's a lot of good fat in there. I might save it so I can fry something else up. All right. Then I have my about 5.5 quarts of filtered water, because the water in Spokane is disgusting. And I'm going to let that sit. And it's not quite covering the bones, so I'm going to add a little bit more water. All right. Cool. All right, next thing I need to do is I need to roast up my aromatics. First off, I have onions. By the way, this is a recipe that I've adjusted from Josh Wiseman. You guys should all look him up. He has great recipes. So I gotta get credit where credit is due. Make sure you keep your fingers out of the way when using that knife, of course. But all I'm gonna do is get this whole yellow onion. I'm just gonna cut it in quarters. There we go. And I'm gonna leave the skin on there. It's gonna add color, flavor. It's just gonna be tasty. And I'm just putting these right on that same pan that I used for the bones. Make sure you get any stickers off on the outside of these onions. So I'm gonna roast these on a broil setting. Let me get that going. Yeah, because I want these to get really, really almost burnt. And if the edges get burnt, that's fine. But whenever you're making your own bone broth, you could just straight go for only bones, let that sit for 5 minutes with the cold water, then boil it, and it would be good to go. But you don't, I like all the flavors. And so even when we're just doing our bone broth for the year, which actually my wife finished just a couple weeks ago. We have lots of chicken bone broth here. She usually does like carrots, onions, a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I'm not going to do any vinegar in this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that ginger open, a whole knob of it. Okay, and I'm going to put it face up so that you can get all nice and toasty in the oven. And it's going to start that caramelization process. So as you can see, I have my onions and ginger on there. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is toast up our spices. So one of the things I'm going to be using is cast iron pan. Whenever you're using cast iron, let it heat up for a long time. This has been heating up for like 10 minutes on a low setting. I don't want to burn these spices. That would be a travesty for this recipe. I just want them toasted, and it's going to start to like caramelize any sugars that are left in them, but it's also going to get the oils and draw them out. And so first I'm going to do 1/3 cup of coriander seeds, which is quite a bit. Next, I need star anise, which if you've never used it before, it has a real licoricey flavor. I'm going to do 6 of those pods. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, we're going to do cloves, like what you'd have in a pumpkin spice. It smells like pumpkin pie. You smell it, baby? So those are those little guys there. I'm going to do 6 of those. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, I'm going to do cardamom, whole cardamom pods. So you can see that. Real lavendery flowery. I'm going to do 4 of those pods. And we are going to toast these all up. Okay. Definitely want to get those flavors moving. So I am going to just let that sit for a little bit, move it fairly often. All right. Now that my beef is actually sat for a little over 5 minutes, I'm going to turn on that heat. And I'm going to bring that up to a boil. Oh man, that beef is nice and crispy in there. Ooh, you know what I almost forgot? I almost forgot our cinnamon. I need a cinnamon stick in here as well. Gotta toast up the cinnamon stick as well. Alright. I think for the sake of the video, I'm gonna go ahead and just end this here. Because all I'm gonna do is put it all in the pot and let it boil. That's it. It's a very simple process. I'm gonna make sure that I just have all the ingredients. That's the first thing, is I don't want to start this and then forget, oh, I have cinnamon that I need to use. So I set up, make sure I have all my things ready to roll. In French, that's called mise en place. Then I roast my bones, roast the veggies, pour the cold water on the bones while the veggies are roasting. I toast up my spices, and once my veggies are roasted, spices are done toasting, put it all into the liquid, and then I let it cook. And this is going to cook for 4 hours. After that, I'll have a beautiful bone broth. Ideally, what the bone broth will look like whenever it is finished, and if I were to chill it, it'll turn into like Jello because there's so much collagen in it. So, yeah, one of my family favorites, and if you guys want to try it, I can absolutely send you the recipe. You let me know. But that is how you make bone broth, and specifically making pho broth.